The doctor's words made my blood run cold. "Mrs. Brennan, we found traces of rat poison in your daughter's bloodstream, and it's been building up for weeks." I'm Jolene Brennan, 35 years old, a single mother who thought she had life figured out. I work as a dental hygienist 4 days a week, drive a reliable Honda, and live in a 2-bedroom apartment with the most important person in my world, my 7-year-old daughter, Meadow. She's this bright, creative little soul who sees magic everywhere. She collects butterfly wings she finds in the garden, paints watercolors of clouds that look like dragons, and still believes that wishing on dandelions makes dreams come true. But what the police found, hidden in my ex-mother-in-law's pantry, changed everything I thought I knew about the woman who'd been feeding my little girl every weekend for the past 3 years. Francine Holloway, age 62, had always been the picture-perfect grandmother. Silver hair always styled just right, pearl earrings that matched her pearl necklace, and a house that smelled like cinnamon rolls and fresh coffee. She was the kind of woman who ironed her bed sheets, organized her spice rack alphabetically, and never missed Sunday service at First Methodist. When my marriage to her son Wyatt fell apart 3 years ago, she fought harder for visitation rights than Wyatt himself did. "A girl needs her grandmother," she told the judge, dabbing her eyes with a lace handkerchief, "especially when her father is struggling with his own demons." The judge agreed. Every Friday at 4 o'clock, Francine would pull up in her pristine white Buick, and Meadow would run out with her little overnight bag covered in rainbow stickers. They had their traditions: Saturday morning pancakes shaped like hearts, afternoon walks to feed the ducks at Morrison Park, and Sunday church followed by lunch at the Bluebell Diner, where Francine knew every waitress by name. I remember standing in that hospital room, watching my baby girl hooked up to machines, her small chest rising and falling with each labored breath. Her skin had this grayish tint that made her look like a porcelain doll someone had left in the rain. The cheerful paintings of cartoon animals on the pediatric ward walls seemed to mock the nightmare I was living. Dr. Rashid, the emergency physician, had kind eyes, but his words cut through me like ice. "This isn't accidental, Mrs. Brennan. The levels we're seeing indicate repeated, deliberate doses. Someone has been poisoning your daughter." My mind raced back through the past few weeks. Meadow had been tired, sure. She'd complained about stomach aches. But kids get tired, kids get stomach aches. I gave her children's Tylenol, made her chicken soup, and tucked her in early, like any mother would. "Mommy, Grandma makes special drinks just for me," Meadow had said just last week, curled up on our couch watching cartoons. "She says they're full of love and vitamins to make me grow tall like a sunflower." I had smiled at that, even felt grateful. Francine was so attentive, so caring. While I was scraping by on a single income, working extra shifts when I could, at least Meadow had a grandmother who doted on her, someone who had time to make special drinks and bake cookies from scratch, someone who could give her the attention I couldn't always provide. The detective, who would later lead the investigation, Ramon Vega, told me that poisoners like Francine often hide in plain sight. They're the helpful neighbors, the devoted caregivers, the ones who everyone says, "But she seemed so nice. She would never do something like that." Standing there in that hospital, listening to the steady beep of Meadow's heart monitor, I realized that every special weekend at Grandma's house had been slowly killing my daughter. Every goodbye kiss Francine planted on Meadow's forehead, every time she buckled her into that spotless Buick, every wave from my apartment window as they drove away, I had been handing my child over to someone who was methodically poisoning her. The worst part was how Meadow talked about those weekends. "Grandma says I'm her special girl. She says I'm the only good thing that came from Daddy." She would come home with her nails painted pink, her hair in perfect braids, and stories about the secret garden in Francine's backyard where they planted flowers just for the butterflies. But now I knew the truth. Behind those pearl earrings and that grandmother's smile, behind the fresh-baked cookies and the bedtime stories, Francine Holloway had been feeding my 7-year-old daughter rat poison, measuring it out as carefully as she measured flour for her famous sugar cookies, stirring it into smoothies, and telling my baby it was their special secret. Life as a single mother means you become an expert at juggling. I'd drop Meadow off at Riverside Elementary at 7:30 sharp, race to the dental practice where I worked, spend 8 hours staring into people's mouths, and still manage to pick her up from after-school care by 5:30. Tuesdays were ballet. Thursdays were art class at the community center, and every other weekend used to belong to Wyatt until he decided Jack Daniels was better company than his daughter. That's when Francine stepped in. "Jolene, dear," she'd said, sitting across from me at my kitchen table 6 months after the divorce was finalized. "Wyatt may have failed as a father, but I haven't failed as a grandmother. Let me have Meadow on weekends. She needs stability, family traditions, a proper house with a yard." She wasn't wrong about the yard. My apartment complex had a patch of grass the size of a parking space and a playground that had seen better days. Francine lived in a Victorian house on Maple Street with a wraparound porch, a garden that could have been in a magazine, and a kitchen with an actual pantry instead of my 3 cabinets held together by landlord special paint. The custody arrangement seemed like a blessing at first. Every Friday, Francine would arrive precisely at 4, never a minute late. She'd step out of that white Buick wearing pressed slacks and a cardigan, her silver hair set in soft waves that never moved, even in the wind. Meadow would squeal, "Grandma Franny," and launch herself into those waiting arms. "Did you pack Mr. Buttons?" Francine would ask, referring to the stuffed rabbit she'd bought Meadow for her 5th birthday. "He's already in my bag, Grandma, and I brought my new coloring book to show you." They had their whole routine down. Friday nights were movie nights with homemade popcorn, not the microwave kind I made, but real popcorn popped on the stove with actual butter. Saturday mornings meant pancakes from scratch while listening to old music on Francine's vintage radio. She taught Meadow to arrange flowers, to fold napkins into swans, to set a proper table with the fork on the left and the knife facing the plate. "Your grandmother's teaching me to be a lady," Meadow announced one Sunday evening after returning home. She was walking with her back straight, balancing a book on her head. "She says ladies don't slouch or chew with their mouths open or wear shoes in the house." I bit back my response. "So what if we ate pizza straight from the box sometimes? So what if I let her wear her light-up sneakers inside?" We were doing fine. But the truth was, Francine filled gaps I couldn't. While I was calculating whether I could afford both new school shoes and the field trip fee, Francine was taking Meadow to the Children's Museum, the Botanical Gardens, the penny candy store downtown that still sold candy in paper bags. She had time I didn't have, energy I'd spent at work, and money that didn't need to stretch to cover rent and utilities. "Grandma makes everything special," Meadow told me once, and I heard the unspoken comparison. "Mom makes everything quick. Mom makes everything simple. Mom is always tired." The changes started small. So small, I explained them away. Meadow began coming home from those weekends exhausted, falling asleep in the car before we even left Francine's driveway. "She just plays hard," I told myself. "Fresh air and activities all weekend will do that." Then came the stomach aches. "My tummy feels funny," she'd say on Sunday nights, curled on the bathroom floor. "What did you eat at Grandma's?" I'd ask, rubbing her back. "Normal stuff, but Grandma makes special smoothies for me. She says they're full of vitamins because you forget to give them to me sometimes." That stung, but I let it go. Francine had raised Wyatt on her own after her husband died young. She knew about single motherhood. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was forgetting things, too overwhelmed by work and bills and keeping everything afloat. 2 weeks before the hospital call, I noticed Meadow had bruises on her legs. "I fell at Grandma's garden," she explained. "She put special cream on it and gave me extra smoothie to help me heal faster." "What's in these smoothies, baby?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Green stuff. Grandma says it's like the drinks fancy people buy for lots of money, but she makes it better. She says it's our secret recipe, and I shouldn't tell anyone the ingredients because they might get jealous." I should have pressed harder. Should have recognized the red flag of secrets between an adult and my child. But Francine had been nothing but helpful for 3 years. She picked Meadow up when I had to work late. She bought school supplies without being asked. She attended every dance recital and art show, sitting in the front row with her camera, playing the proud grandmother to perfection. The Friday before everything fell apart, I watched them drive away like always. Meadow waved from the back seat, already chattering about their plans to bake cookies for her teacher. Francine smiled at me. That same serene smile she'd worn at Wyatt's and my wedding, the same smile she'd maintained through our divorce proceedings. "Don't worry about a thing," she called out the window. "I'll take perfect care of her." Those words would haunt me later, playing on repeat as I sat in that hospital room. Perfect care. She certainly had taken care to be perfect in her deception, perfect in her doses, perfect in her performance as the devoted grandmother no one would suspect. Tuesday afternoon started like any other. I had my hands in Mr. Peterson's mouth, scaling his lower teeth while he tried to tell me about his grandson's baseball game. The clock on the wall read 2:47 p.m. I remember because I was thinking I had just enough time to finish up, sterilize my instruments, and maybe grab a coffee before my 3:30 appointment. That's when Denise, our receptionist, burst through the door. Her face was white as paper, and she was holding her cell phone like it might explode. "Jolene, you need to go, now. Riverside Elementary called. Meadow collapsed during art class. The ambulance is taking her to Peninsula Medical Center." The dental tools clattered onto the tray. Mr. Peterson sat up, still wearing his bib, saying something about hoping everything was okay, but his words sounded like they were coming from underwater. My hands were ripping off my gloves, my feet already moving toward the door. Denise pushed my purse into my hands and car keys into my palm. "Go, Dr. Mitchell will handle your appointments." The drive to the hospital was a blur of red lights I barely stopped for and honking horns I didn't hear. My mind kept replaying the morning. Meadow had been tired, moving slowly at breakfast, pushing her cereal around the bowl. But she'd been tired for weeks. Kids get tired. It's normal. Everything had been normal. The emergency room at Peninsula Medical Center smelled like disinfectant and fear. I found Meadow in Bay 3, surrounded by machines and medical staff. She looked so small on that adult-sized gurney, her rainbow dash t-shirt cut open to make room for the heart monitor leads. An IV dripped clear fluid into her tiny arm. Her eyes were closed, her face pale as fresh snow except for dark circles that looked like bruises. Mrs. Brennan, a doctor in green scrubs, approached. His badge read Dr. Akil Rashid, and he had the kind of calm voice that probably soothed most parents. It terrified me. "I'm the attending physician. Your daughter is stable, but we need to talk." He led me to a small consultation room with cheerful whale paintings that seemed obscene given the circumstances. Dr. Rashid pulled up a tablet showing me numbers and graphs I didn't understand. Meadow's blood work shows severe abnormalities. Her liver enzymes are dangerously elevated, and she's showing signs of coagulopathy. Her blood isn't clotting properly. These symptoms are consistent with systematic poisoning. Poisoning? What do you mean poisoning? Like food poisoning? No, Mrs. Brennan. This appears to be chemical poisoning. We need to determine what she's been exposed to. I need you to think carefully. Any cleaning products she might have gotten into? Medications? Pesticides in your home? My mind raced through our apartment. The cleaning supplies were locked under the sink. The medicine was on the top shelf of my bedroom closet. We didn't have a garden, didn't use pesticides. No, nothing. I'm careful. I child-proofed everything when she was a baby and never stopped. What about other environments? Does she spend time at other homes, relatives, babysitters? She goes to her grandmother's house every weekend, but Francine would never. She's so careful about everything. Dr. Rashid made a note. We need to check all possibilities. Can you call the grandmother? Ask specifically what Meadow has been eating and drinking there? My hands shook as I dialed Francine's number. She answered on the second ring, her voice chirpy as always. "Jolene, what a pleasant surprise. Is everything all right?" "Francine, Meadow's in the hospital. She collapsed at school. The doctors are running tests, and they need to know what she's been eating at your house." The silence stretched for 3 long seconds. "What are you implying, Jolene?" Her voice had turned to ice. "I'm not implying anything. The doctors just need to know. Please, what did you feed her last weekend?" "The same wholesome food I've been feeding her for 3 years. Vegetables from my garden, fresh fruit, home-cooked meals. Unlike the fast food you probably give her during the week." "Francine, please, this is serious. They think she might have been poisoned." "Then perhaps you should look at your own home instead of pointing fingers at the one person who actually takes proper care of that child." She hung up. When I returned to Meadow's room, she was stirring. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused and glassy. "Mommy?" "I'm here, baby. I'm right here." My tummy hurts, like when I drink Grandma's special smoothie. But worse. Dr. Rashid leaned forward. "Meadow, honey, can you tell me about these smoothies?" She looked at me. Then at the doctor, her little face scrunched in concentration. "They're green. Grandma says they have special vitamins to make me strong because Mommy forgets sometimes. She puts the green powder in and tells me it's our secret garden magic." Dr. Rashid and I locked eyes. He stepped out of the room and returned 5 minutes later with a grim expression. "Mrs. Brennan, we're running a specific toxicology panel. Based on the symptoms and what Meadow just said, we're testing for rodenticide, rat poison. It contains anticoagulants that would explain everything we're seeing." The room spun. "You're saying someone has been giving my 7-year-old daughter rat poison?" "That's what we need to determine. But if that's what the tests show, this becomes a police matter immediately." I sank into the plastic chair beside Meadow's bed, holding her small hand in mine. She squeezed back weakly, already drifting back to sleep. The rainbow butterfly she'd painted in art class that morning was still visible on her palm, smudged but bright. She'd been painting butterflies when her body finally couldn't fight the poison anymore. Dr. Rashid returned to Meadow's room at 4:15 p.m. with a manila folder and an expression that made my stomach drop to my feet. He pulled the curtain around Meadow's bed, creating our own private nightmare, and sat down across from me. The way he carefully placed the folder on his lap told me everything before he even opened his mouth. "Mrs. Brennan, the toxicology results are back. We found brodifacoum in Meadow's blood. It's a second-generation anticoagulant used in rat poison. The levels indicate she's been ingesting it regularly for at least 6 weeks, possibly longer." The words hit me like physical blows. 6 weeks. Every weekend for 6 weeks, my daughter had been drinking poison while I waved goodbye from my apartment window. "This wasn't an accident," Dr. Rashid continued. "The consistency of the levels suggests measured, deliberate doses, small enough not to cause immediate crisis, but building up in her system over time. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing." Within 20 minutes, Detective Ramon Vega arrived. He was younger than I expected, maybe early 40s, with kind brown eyes that probably helped witnesses trust him. He pulled out a notebook and pen, old school, and started asking questions that made this nightmare real. "Mrs. Brennan, I need you to think very carefully. Who has regular access to your daughter?" "Just me and Francine. My ex-husband Wyatt moved to Alaska 8 months ago. He hasn't seen Meadow since Christmas." "Tell me about Francine. What's your relationship like?" I thought about how to explain 3 years of polite tension. "She blamed me for the divorce, said I drove Wyatt to drinking by being too demanding. But she loves Meadow, or I thought she did. She fought for grandparent rights during the custody hearings," Detective Vega wrote steadily. "Has she ever made threats? Expressed anger about the custody arrangement?" "No threats. But last month she said something strange. We were discussing summer plans, and she mentioned wanting to take Meadow on a cruise. When I said I couldn't afford to miss that much work, she said, 'Well, if you can't provide proper care, maybe other arrangements should be made.' I thought she meant she'd pay for the trip herself." Meadow stirred in the bed, her voice weak but clear. "Detective, am I in trouble?" "No, sweetheart," he said gently. "You're not in trouble at all, but I need to ask you some questions about your grandma's house. Is that okay?" She nodded, and I squeezed her hand for encouragement. "Tell me about these special smoothies your grandma makes." "They're green like grass. She makes them in her special blender that she keeps in the locked cabinet. She says it's expensive and only for our smoothies." "A locked cabinet?" Detective Vega glanced at me. I shook my head. This was news to me. "Yeah, with a key. She wears it on her necklace with her cross. She unlocks it and gets the green powder and mixes it with juice and sometimes yogurt. But it tastes bad, like metal." "What does Grandma say when you tell her it tastes bad?" "That medicine doesn't always taste good, but it helps us. She gives me extra cookies after to make the taste go away. She says strong girls drink their vitamins and don't complain." Detective Vega closed his notebook. "Mrs. Brennan, we need to get into that house today, before she has a chance to destroy evidence. Can you help us?" "How? She'll know something's wrong if I just show up." "We need a reason for you to be there, something that won't raise suspicion while we get a warrant." That's when Meadow provided our solution. "Mommy, can you get Mr. Buttons? I want him here with me. He's at Grandma's house on my special bed." Detective Vega nodded. "Perfect. Call her. Say Meadow is asking for her toy. You're emotional, worried, just wanting to comfort your daughter. Don't mention the poisoning. Let her think Meadow just collapsed from exhaustion or a virus. My hands trembled as I dialed. Francine answered immediately. Jolene? How is she? Despite our earlier conversation, I've been worried sick. I forced tears into my voice, which wasn't hard. She's stable but scared. She's asking for Mr. Buttons, her stuffed rabbit. The one you gave her. Could I come get it? I know it's a lot to ask, but she won't calm down without him. Of course, dear, that poor baby. I'll have him ready when you get here. Actually, would it be okay if I came in and got him myself? I know exactly where she keeps him, and I don't want to trouble you. A pause. I suppose that would be fine. I'll leave the door unlocked. I need to run to evening service anyway. Detective Vega was already on his phone with the warrant judge as I hung up. We'll have officers there within the hour. You did perfect. Now, there's something else. We've contacted social services. They'll need to do an investigation too. Social services? But I didn't do anything wrong. It's procedure when a child is deliberately harmed. They'll clear you quickly, but they have to investigate everyone. Your ex-husband will be contacted as well. I looked at Meadow, drowsy from pain medication but listening to everything. Her small hand gripped mine tighter. Mommy, did Grandma make me sick on purpose? How do you answer that question? How do you tell a 7-year-old that someone who baked her cookies and braided her hair and called her precious was slowly killing her? We're going to find out, baby. The police are going to help us find out exactly what happened. Detective Vega stood up. I'm heading to coordinate the search team. Mrs. Brennan, stay here with Meadow. We'll call you as soon as we know something. As he left, I heard him on his phone. I need a hazmat team at 447 Maple Street, possible chemical evidence, and bring a computer forensics guy. If she researched this, I want to know. Detective Vega called me at 6:43 p.m. I was sitting beside Meadow's bed, watching her chest rise and fall, counting each breath like it might be the last one. His voice was tight with controlled anger. Mrs. Brennan, we need you to stay calm. We're at Francine's house. You need to prepare yourself for what I'm about to tell you. The search had started simple enough. 4 officers and a forensics team entered the pristine Victorian house on Maple Street while Francine was at her evening church service. They found the kitchen exactly as Meadow had described, spotless white cabinets, a vintage radio on the counter, and a locked cabinet next to the refrigerator. The locksmith opened it in 30 seconds. Inside, they found 3 boxes of decon rat poison, 2 empty, 1 half full. Next to them sat a small digital scale, the kind drug dealers use, precise to the 10th of a gram. A leather journal lay beneath it all, Francine's perfect cursive filling every page. She documented everything, Detective Vega told me. Every dose, every date, every reaction, like a twisted science experiment. January 15th, 2 and 5 grams in morning smoothie. M complained of taste but drank it all. Slight fatigue by evening. January 22nd, increased to 3 grams. Told M it was special vitamin powder from the health store. She believes grandmother knows best. I ran to the hospital bathroom and vomited until nothing came up but bile. A nurse found me there, sobbing on the floor, and helped me back to Meadow's room. Detective Vega wasn't finished. We found more. Her computer history shows she researched this extensively. Articles about brodifacoum poisoning, how long it takes to build up in the system, what doses cause illness versus death. She knew exactly how much to give to make Meadow sick, but not kill her immediately. Why? I choked out. Why would she do this? We found emails to your ex-husband, dozens of them over the past 2 months. She was sending him photos of Meadow looking progressively sicker, telling him he needed to come home, that you were neglecting his daughter. She wrote, Jolene is too busy with her new life to notice Meadow is wasting away. The child needs her father. She needs a real family. The forensics team also discovered a blender in the dishwasher, recently run but still testing positive for rodenticide residue. In the refrigerator, they found a pitcher of green smoothie with a sticky note. For my precious flower, drink up. The lab confirmed it contained enough brodifacoum to kill a small child within days. At 7:15 p.m., Francine returned from church to find her home surrounded by police cars. According to Officer Chen, who was there, she didn't run. She didn't cry. She walked up the front path in her sensible heels and pearl necklace like she was arriving for afternoon tea. Francine Holloway, Detective Vega announced. You're under arrest for the attempted murder of Meadow Brennan." That's when her mask finally cracked. But instead of remorse, what poured out was rage. "That woman destroyed my family," she screamed, her perfectly styled hair coming loose as officers cuffed her. "She drove my son away with her constant demands. Career this, ambition that, never satisfied with being a wife and mother. She poisoned him against me, made him choose between his mother and that selfish girl. Now he's drunk in Alaska while she plays the victim single mother." Detective Vega recorded every word as she continued her confession, thinking it was justification. "I wasn't going to kill Meadow. I'm not a monster. Just make her sick enough that the courts would see Jolene as unfit. The plan was perfect. Meadow would need constant care. Jolene would lose her job missing so much work, and then who would the courts turn to? The grandmother, who's always been there, who has a proper home, who knows how to raise children right." "You systematically poisoned a 7-year-old child," Detective Vega stated flatly. "I was saving her. From a mother who puts her career before family, who feeds her fast food, who lets her watch cartoons instead of reading classics. Meadow deserves better. She deserves what I can give her." The worst revelation came when they found Francine's phone. The photo gallery contained hundreds of pictures of Meadow over the past 6 weeks, documenting her declining health like trophies. Pale skin, dark circles, bruises from the blood not clotting properly. Each photo dated and labeled. Week 1, slight pallor. Week 3, fatigue increasing. Week 5, bruising as expected. She had also been in contact with a family lawyer, inquiring about emergency custody procedures for when a parent is deemed unfit due to medical neglect. The appointment was scheduled for next week. Detective Vega called me again at 8 p.m. "There's more. We found evidence she did similar things to your ex-husband when he was a child. Medical records from the 1990s showing repeated hospitalizations for mysterious illnesses that doctors couldn't explain. Classic Munchausen by proxy behavior. She kept him sick to keep him dependent." "That's why Wyatt can't handle stress," I whispered, the pieces falling into place. "That's why he turns to alcohol. She programmed him from childhood to believe he was weak, that he needed her to take care of him." The detective's voice softened. "The district attorney is charging her with attempted murder, assault on a child, and poisoning. With the evidence we have, she's looking at 15 to 20 years minimum. She won't hurt Meadow again." I hung up and turned to my daughter, who was awake now, listening with wide eyes. The color was starting to return to her cheeks thanks to the vitamin K treatments combating the poison. "Grandma's not coming back, is she?" Meadow asked in a small voice. "No, baby, she's not." "Because she put bad things in my smoothies?" "Because she hurt you. And people who hurt children have to face consequences." Meadow was quiet for a moment, processing this betrayal in the way only children can, with a directness that cuts through adult complexity. "She said she loved me most, but people who love you don't make you sick, do they, Mommy?" "No, sweetheart, real love protects. It doesn't poison." Meadow spent 2 weeks in Peninsula Medical Center. The vitamin K treatment slowly reversed the poison's effects, but watching her recover was like watching a time-lapse video of a flower blooming in reverse, then forward again. First, the bruises faded from purple to yellow to nothing. Then the color returned to her cheeks, pink replacing gray. By day 10, she was sitting up in bed, painting butterflies with the watercolor set the nurses brought her. The trial took 3 months to begin. During that time, truths about Francine Holloway emerged like roaches when you turn on a light. The prosecution found medical records from 1987 through 1995, when Wyatt was between ages 5 and 13, 47 emergency room visits, mysterious stomach ailments that disappeared the moment social services got involved, then reappeared once they closed the case. One doctor had written in his notes, "Mother seems unusually knowledgeable about symptoms, almost eager to discuss child's illness, recommend psychological evaluation." Nothing was ever done. Wyatt flew in from Alaska for the trial 6 months sober and looking healthier than I'd seen him in years. We met at a coffee shop before his testimony, and for the first time since our divorce, we really talked. "She did it to me too," he said, staring at his black coffee. "I just remembered it differently. Thought she was taking care of me, protecting me from a world that would hurt me. Even when I got older and realized something was wrong, I couldn't face it. Easier to drink it away than admit my mother was poisoning me. She was poisoning Meadow to get to me, I said, to punish me for taking you away from her. No, Jolene, she was poisoning Meadow to get Meadow. You were just the obstacle. Mom doesn't know how to love without controlling, without making someone need her so desperately they can't leave. She did it to me, tried to do it to you through me, and when that failed, she went after Meadow. At the trial, Francine sat perfectly dressed in a navy suit, her silver hair styled, wearing the same pearl earrings she'd worn to every school event, every grandmother-granddaughter lunch. She looked like everyone's ideal grandmother, which made the evidence even more chilling. The prosecutor presented the journal, reading entries aloud that made jury members visibly recoil. The photos of Meadow's deterioration were blown up on a screen, each one dated, each one showing my baby getting sicker while Francine smiled and baked cookies and played the devoted grandmother. When Francine took the stand in her own defense, she still couldn't admit wrongdoing. I was helping my granddaughter build her immune system. Modern children are too sheltered, too weak. A little hardship makes them stronger. By giving her rat poison? The prosecutor asked. By giving her carefully measured supplements that would create temporary discomfort but long-term benefits. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours, guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 18 years, declaring her a clear and present danger to children, particularly those in her own family. As court officers led her away, Francine turned to look at me. No apology, no remorse, just cold fury at having been caught. The real recovery began after the trial ended. Meadow started therapy with Dr. Patricia Morse, a specialist in childhood trauma who had an office filled with stuffed animals and art supplies. For the first few sessions, Meadow wouldn't talk about Francine at all. She'd paint butterflies and talk about school, about her friends, about anything except the grandmother who'd tried to kill her with kindness. Then one day, 3 months after the arrest, she painted a picture of 2 houses, one small and colorful with flowers and a smiling sun, one large and dark with perfect windows, but no light inside. "This is our home," she said, pointing to the small house. And this was Grandma's house. It looked pretty on the outside, but felt sick on the inside, like the smoothies. They were the color of grass and gardens, but they were poison. Dr. Morse helped both of us process the betrayal. She taught me to stop blaming myself for not seeing the signs sooner, and taught Meadow that trusting people wasn't wrong, even when that trust was broken. Bad people sometimes look exactly like good people, Dr. Morse explained to Meadow during one session I was allowed to observe. That's not your fault. Your job is to tell trusted adults when something feels wrong, when someone asks you to keep secrets when your body feels sick. You did that. You told your mommy about the smoothies and the funny taste. That helped save your life. 6 months after the arrest, Meadow and I moved to a new apartment across town. Fresh start, new school where nobody knew about the grandmother who made the news. I found a better paying position at a pediatric dental practice where they understood why I sometimes panicked when parents mentioned grandparent visits. Wyatt stayed in touch, really stayed this time. He moved back to Oregon, not to our town, but close enough to visit. He and Meadow are rebuilding their relationship slowly. Supervised visits that involve hiking and museum trips and 0 mentions of his mother. He's been sober for over a year now. The hardest part was learning to trust again. Every time someone offered to watch Meadow, every time she went to a friend's house for dinner, every time she ate something I hadn't prepared myself, my chest would tighten. But kids are resilient. Meadow bounced back faster than I did. By her 8th birthday, she was running around the park with her friends, eating cake someone else's mother had baked, being a normal kid who happened to have an abnormal story. She still paints butterflies, but now they're emerging from cocoons, wings spread wide against bright skies. At her last checkup, Dr. Rashid declared her completely recovered, no lasting physical damage from the poisoning. "Children's bodies are amazing," he said. "They can heal from things that would destroy adults. But some lessons stay with you. Meadow knows now that love shouldn't come with conditions, that real affection doesn't require secrets, that feeling sick isn't normal and should never be ignored. She knows that butterflies are beautiful precisely because they transform, leaving their toxic cocoons behind to fly free." Last week she asked me, Mom, do you think Grandma Francine loved me at all? Even a little bit? I thought carefully before answering. I think she loved the idea of you, the idea of a granddaughter she could control and shape. But real love, the kind we have, that means wanting someone to be healthy and happy and free, even if it means they don't need you as much. That's the kind of love you deserve, and that's the kind you have. She nodded, satisfied, and went back to her homework. Just a regular Tuesday evening in our poison-free life, where smoothies are just smoothies, and grandmothers exist only in storybooks where they're supposed to be the heroes, not the villains. The truth is, monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look like grandmother in pearls and cardigans, baking cookies while measuring out poison with the same careful hands. Sometimes they say, "I love you," while slowly trying to destroy you. But survival means learning the difference between love and control, between care and manipulation, between a grandmother's kiss and a Judas kiss, laced with brodifacome. We survived, we healed. And every day that Meadow laughs, plays, and grows stronger is a victory over the woman who tried to steal her childhood one poisoned smoothie at a time. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about the relationships in your own life or the warning signs we sometimes miss, please share this video with others who might need to hear it. Drop a comment below about your thoughts or your own experiences with toxic relationships disguised as love. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories that remind us all to trust our instincts when something feels wrong. Because sometimes the most dangerous predators come bearing homemade cookies and calling you precious.